Hey folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Tornado, Tony Pemmican.
And Psychic Tom Badger. Crystal ball unveiled. Ready to go.
Yeah, well, I don't know if either one of us were very psychic last week when it came to the UFC main event. But otherwise, we're all right.
I have a make culpa. Matt Holloway is becoming my Frank Mir. I get on board the train that derails. We should hire me. And pay me to predict he's going to lose. I just can't seem to. But now, to be fair, that wasn't. I don't know if you've seen that, but it was a very close fight.
Yes. I did notice, though, Colby just basically, he just didn't, he didn't have this dynamic stuff, you know, like he basically let it become a kickboxing match was what it was. I mean, there was virtually no wrestling.
Well, yeah, see, the question is, the question is, maybe if Usman's takedown defense is that good, I mean, Colby had been able to take anyone down. Rich, I didn't see a shot in the whole fight.
Right.
I didn't see him even try to get it down. Now, having said that, if you've seen the judges' scorecards, and I got the official ones, not the reporters, the official judges, one had it dead even going into the fifth.
Wow.
One had the champ up around. One had Colby up around. So it was anyone's fight going into the last 2 minutes. And then my screen froze. And it came back when Colby. I talk about losing my mind.
Yeah.
And then when the screen came back, Colby was turtled. Taking a lot of shots to the back of the net, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily disagree.
Doing a force. Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily disagree with the stoppage there, but some of the refereeing, obviously Mark Goddard has had controversy before. That's an understatement. But,
yeah. There was a couple of questionable nut shots, or were they nut shots, or eye pokes?
No question about it. It wasn't one. The one of them they showed, boy, he hit him right in the chest, and the foot was above the belt line. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but, so there was definitely some dirty pull in that one, but all I could say to Colby is you use the example of Muhammad Ali. I mean, look at when Ali lost to Joe Frazier in that first fight. My God, I mean, he had talked so much trash, made so many promises, and well, he was humbled a bit, but he got right back in and started winning and got a win streak going, and here we go. You've seen the results. Came back, and I just said, Colby. Now Dana was talking about matching him with a John Witherspoon. So I would tell him, lick your wounds, learn from it, watch, because it was such a close fight. I mean, he had nothing to be ashamed of.
No. Usman, it's just, the cardio, the conditioning, and just the determination to just keep coming at him no matter what. He did get hit with a few hard shots, and he admitted it.
And he kept his poise.
He admitted it after the fight, too.
But remember what I had said. I felt Usman just hated Colby so much that there was a chance he was just going to come out and just try to tear his head off, and if he couldn't do it by the later rounds, he'd gas out. But to his credit, he didn't do that. I mean, no. he kept a good steady pace up, but he didn't blow his wad early on like I thought there was a good chance that he would. So more power to him.
Yeah, and it's funny because the next day on Facebook, somebody posted a picture of a badly beat-up dude with a MAGA hat on, Make America Great Again, for those of you who don't know the acronym. And dude had a huge black eye, and it was a white dude, and it looked kind of like Colby Covington, so I was like, oh, for a hot second there, I thought that was Colby Covington. And I got a lot of laughs out of that one. But it was not him. It was some other random dude. You know how you've been hearing about all these people that just get beat up just for wearing the damn hat around. Well, This dude just happened to look slightly like Kobe. But, yeah, Donald Trump's probably not ringing his phone off the hook anymore. But we'll see. We'll see what's next for him. He's going to pick himself up, dust himself off, and get back in there. Go ahead, Tony.
You know, speaking of Donald Trump, I just came up with the greatest Pollyanna gift of all time, which was a 365-day calendar of Donald Trumpisms, sold out until after Christmas.
Nice.
So I can't get that, and I can't get the Baby Yoda Chia Pet.
Yeah, I pissed my sister off one time when I said she hates Trump, and I said her and my dad used to butt heads about him, so I suggested that she get him a Trump toilet brush, see how he reacts. the brush part is his hair, obviously. That's funny.
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
So your sister has TDS.
Oh,
TDS. Trump
absolutely hates him. But
Trump derangement syndrome.
But you got to remember.
Trump anxiety.
Yeah, but you got to remember my father.
A lot of people do it.
My father allowed my mother to name her Mary Jane, which was not a good idea for a guy who was an undercover narcotics detective. Probably should have known better, but yeah. So she leans Democratic, let's just say. In everything. Good woman.
There's I was reading an article how psychiatrists are just loving this whole thing. They're getting so many Democrats coming to them for antidepressants and anti-anxiety.
I didn't want to bring my personal life. I didn't want to bring my personal life into work here, but I just actually got a perfect example of that kind of shit. And it's not just Trump. Like, it's these young kids these days. I just joined this group called Overheard at Norwich. It's like, it's a bunch of guys from my school, young kids going there now, and alumni, who just bitch and moan and put up these little memes and funny stuff about the school, right? So, there's this new thing. I think I mentioned it on the show before. OK Boomer. You guys heard of this? People saying OK Boomer to older people? Like, it's just like their comeback today. Like, well, whatever, or I know you are, but what am I? It's just asinine. So they've been saying OK Boomer to some things, and I've been kind of like going back and forth with them about how that's not really a way to engage in an argument. If you want to come off as smart, you should, even when you're trying to be funny, it's just very ineffective, Like, I was trying to make the point, there was another guy that was like wicked old school, like a couple years before me, and this was real asshole type of guy, and he was like responding to the kids by saying, "Oh, I fucked your mother," and shit like that, So getting them all riled up. And so, of course, eventually with that approach, one of the kids that's going there now was like, "I want to fight you behind Goodyear Hall," to an alumni. So it's like, obviously you guys are letting us get the better of you. You're losing your composure. So, it became one of those things where, I worked on it for a little while. I kind of like worked with them and, understood some of their points and gave them some like, okay, that makes sense. And so they started to like me, and I started putting up memes that everybody was sharing and liking and stuff. And so then today, one of the kids decides, as his moderator position allows, he's going to fucking mute me for the entire day because I pissed him off because he's in the new Corps, supposedly, and I was posting shit that was making fun of him a little bit, Like, there's a meme going around with a little dog in the backside of a car on a rainy day, and he's saying, I don't know, what if I never find out who's a good boy? Like saying to the dog, "Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?" So I was making the point, like, that's when they get recognized as upperclassmen. That's how they look forward to it. Like, oh, am I ever going to find out who's a good boy? So they were like really upset by that kind of shit. And then they post something that's like, oh, new Corps people say, I'm going to kick your ass, and then old Corps people say, I want to suck your dick. Like, they go straight to dick jokes. Like, that's better than okay boomer. I don't know. Like, I want to be like, geez, that's too bad, but it's more like I just laugh. I mean, maybe I don't care enough about the young generation coming up, but if they're going to be, if some of them are just going to be stupid and not want to learn something and not like try to develop themselves and just be the same stupid idiots for the rest of their lives, then why should it bother me, right? So, like, all right.
You know what, Rich, and you and I are from the same generation. And you and I kind of had that old school kind of brain, and I think that's, why we have such a chemistry on the air, and why we get along off the air. And Tom with the same thing is, I think Tom values us because even though he's a little older than us, he knows that we come up with the same high moral character. And
I met your dad, Tony. I met your dad, and I only met him one night, but that tells me a lot. You have a great father.
Yeah. And I had to travel to Center City. 2 days ago, Tuesday, and and I don't mind going down there as much when I have to do it every day. Enjoy it, because then it's like my anxiety is taking the public transportation because I don't feel like I'm in control. When I'm driving home or driving to work, I'm in control. If I'm running late, I'm annoyed and I'm probably spouting off obscenities, but I'm still in control. If I'm on my late and I got to catch a train, then I'm losing composure, especially if somebody's slow in front of me or there's a school bus in front of me, so on and so forth. But then when I get on that train, I people watch. I don't listen to music on the radio. I'll have my phone with me and I'll look at it, but I got one eye on the phone, I got one eye on everybody else, and I catch people's mannerisms. And I see, like, especially these younger guys today, that it used to annoy me so much, and that's why I went on the Hank Cisco show a couple times to discuss it, and that was, the young men that don't feel the need to give up a seat to a lady or an elderly person or a handicapped person, and it would just annoy me that to the point that I would get up and announce it, very obnoxiously, which is kind of my style. Excuse me, please have my seat. I'm a gentleman, But and then you see there's a commercial on TV right now, and it's really indicating what's wrong with the younger generation. And I know I talked about it a week or so ago with a young kid who looks like a emo, albino, goofy-looking kid in smart jeans with a stupid-looking hairdo, and you can't tell if it's a boy or a girl. And he's walking with his face in his phone, his headphones on, he walks right through people running like a marathon, and they all part around him, and he just got his face in his phone, oblivious. And then a mother's put her kids in the car, and she's going to back out, and he just walks right behind the car, doesn't even look, and then it's like, oh my God, because our car is so safe, we beat, so you can run this kid over. I'm like, run him over. I don't give a shit. I wouldn't give a shit. Get the hell out. Get him out of here. He's a detriment to society. But that's the thing, is like, the morals anymore, it's like, everybody is so entitled, and everybody is so focused on me. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah. And there's just...
Got me all riled up.
There's just no respect. That's the thing. Like...
It's like, these kids today treat the world like riding danger. No respect.
Right? I mean, it's one thing, like, just to make jokes and try to fit in with the older generation and, try to bond by being, like, abrasive and... like a friend of mine used to do, you just push your buttons until you snapped, and then depending on how you reacted, if you didn't flip out and want to kill him, you just were mad, you could just, smooth it over and be like, dude, I'm just fucking with you. And then you get over it. But some of these kids, they just melt down because they have no concept of how to handle it.
But they also, they don't have the respect anymore. It's like, what, even growing up, like, I have a problem with somebody, me and you, after school, at the park, we throw our fists. There was, no gangs involved. No, people would come, they'd watch, no gangs involved, no weapons involved. Best man won. When it was over, it was over. But kids today, they got to run the pack, or they got to, say, oh, I'm being bullied, or hey, it's things that happen. You had to learn how to, hey, bullying sucks. It's a bad thing. But kids today, you've seen an increase in suicide because the kids aren't taught how to handle it, how to face reality. Sad thing, I know we're going off on a tangent, but which is my specialty.
Yeah, well,
but I mean that's the
I
problem.
started it.
Everybody's so mangled and everybody's so pampered anymore. It doesn't help reality.
Anyway, so we got UFC 245.
Go on for 1 minute. I will be right back in a minute. Okay.
Sure. So we got UFC 245 to finish here. We got the Covington fight in the books. So let's go on to the co-main event. Alexander Volkanovski, kind of shocking the world a little bit there with his defeat of Max Holloway. I really didn't watch this fight too intently, but with everything Max Holloway does and the way he fights, the complaint that I always come back with is, keep your damn hands up, buddy. He does not protect his face enough. And I think he paid for it in this fight. And Volkanovski really didn't have the tools you would think to be able to dominate Holloway, but he somehow did. Unanimous decision. And he picked his spots. He dug in deep. He got on the inside, threw a lot of nice body shots, and made his combinations count. He was in and out, and found his range eventually, and obviously swayed the judges. But interestingly enough, the guy who came to console Holloway after the fight that surprised a lot of people was Conor McGregor. And even Holloway came out and mentioned it and said, see, he does have heart. So I don't know. Maybe Conor's humbling now, being humble and trying to change his character. He's all these incidents with the law have changed his perspective after he walloped that guy in the Irish bar there over his whiskey. So we'll see. We'll see if it translates to in the cage stuff, but it's kind of promising. I've always said that with his power of being able to draw the public in and get eyeballs on him, he should be speaking out more about the issues that need to be spoken out against. But this is a start. You got to start somewhere. And then we had the female fight there, Amanda Nunes and Jermaine de Randami, and that one was a barn burner for a little while. And Nunes got the decision there, but she handled it pretty well. Randami did stun her maybe 2 or 3 times, but really didn't knock her down or cause any kind of
talk about one-dimensional, no ground game.
Yeah.
All Amanda had to do was get it on the ground, and it. I know that the challenger was trying some submissions, but still, just this is MMA, not kickboxing.
Yeah. Randami actually, her best strike in the whole fight was her knees. Some of her knees were just reaching right up and landing in the clinches, but she just couldn't land enough of them, and she couldn't keep Amanda bottled up, basically, because basically you just have to swarm her and keep her from coming back into it, because she's not giving up. So she keeps her title. And then Marlon Moraes was welcoming Jose Aldo back to the weight there at featherweight, and Jose thought he did enough to win the fight, but the judges said otherwise. It was a split decision win for Marlon Moraes, and I'm sure they'll run it back. They have a lot of respect for each other, and obviously Jose thinks that's the weight for him, so it'll be interesting to see that going again.
Yeah, I had him pulling it out, but it was close. I wouldn't call it a robbery.
Yeah.
But I just think Jose had done just a little bit, but it was tough. Trying to fight him. I'm glad I wasn't good.
And then we had Peter Yan just destroying Uriah Faber there by knockout with the head kick in 43 seconds of round 3. And I got to give Uriah credit. He showed a ton of heart and, stayed right in there until that last head kick just ended it. But it was solid. There was no controversy about the stoppage, and he was out of it there for a minute. But it just shows you the scrappiness of Peter Yan. The absolute out of nowhere quality of that kick was pretty nice to see. Because it wasn't really like it was set up. He wasn't waiting for it. It looked like it was just, all right, well, there it is. I'm gonna hit it while it's there, and perfect instinct there. It's hard to land kicks like that, almost on a fluke. But Uriah was standing right up at the time and just laid his chin right out there for him to hit. So that was all she wrote. And before that, we had Mike Perry going down in quicker time. 1 minute and 30 seconds of round number 1 from punches. There's a TKO from Jeff Neal. And Irene Aldana in the 7th fight of the night.
That was impressive. Perry had never been stopped like that.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. I think I tuned in right at the Uriah Faber fight, so I missed it. And then we had Irene Aldana beating Ketlin, also by knockout, 4 minutes and 51 seconds into that one. Actually, I did catch that. I think I was just barely watching the preliminaries, and I caught it out of the corner of my eye. That was great. But and Omar Akhmedov beat Ian Heinisch by unanimous decision. And Matt Brown beating Ben Saunders by knockout. Just 5 seconds left in the second round.
The Immortal
elbows.
Is back. The Immortal is back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love seeing an elbow knockout. I didn't actually see this one, but seeing it in the results, it's always encouraging. That's my number one thing. When I started, thinking about doing mixed martial arts in the first place and working on the bag and starting my different strikes other than what I know from boxing, I gravitated right to those elbows, and I started thinking to myself, Jesus, why don't these guys throw more of those elbows in the fight? Because when you talk about knockout power, you hit somebody just right with that elbow.
And Matt Brown has always had, and Matt Brown has always had those elbows.
Yeah.
Oh, not elbows, elbows. And he's been, and Carlos Condit was another guy really good at that in his prime, and the two of them never did fight.
Right.
But, that would have been an interesting matchup.
Yeah. And then we had 4th fight of the night, Chase Hooper, also first round knockout, 4 minutes and 34 seconds in by punches from a TKO over Daniel Tamur. And McLovin there, Brandon Moreno, beating Kai Kara France by unanimous decision. Jessica I in the second fight of the night, beating Viviane Araujo by unanimous decision. And then the first fight was also a knockout, first round from punches, 3 minutes and 17 seconds in. We had Puna Hele Soriano beating Oscar Pichota. And we got UFC Fight Night 165 coming up this weekend. Frankie Edgar's in the main event there. And we also have Bellator 235 coming up tomorrow night. We'll go over in a minute here. Waiting for it to load. But overall, I was very impressed with that card. The one thing I didn't like, though, was I don't know how they didn't think about starting the card earlier, because you've got 3 title fights leading the bill, and it looked like they didn't account for, whether it would be a good idea to do that and not start earlier, just on the off chance that every fight would go the distance.
I was pretty much of a zombie.
Yeah.
Sunday I was up late, and I inherited another puppy, and
oh, good for you. Congratulations.
So I figured out how to send pictures now, so I'll have to send you guys some pictures. But I was dragging bad. I mean, I think it was way past 2:00 when the main event finally ended.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. But they do that a lot, where the fights, are going on after midnight, and it's just something that a lot of people who watch UFC are used to. But I don't know. Maybe it would change the viewership levels if they decided, instead of starting every fight card at 10:00 for the main card, bump it up to 8, and see if you see.
Yeah,
that
was and all three of them, almost all went the distance.
Yeah.
In fact, Colby's fight was late in the 5th round, and the other two went the full.
Yep.
5 rounds. Yeah, that was just a whole bunch of stars lined up in a way to make us all pretty sleepy Sunday. Yeah.
And we'll get to the results in a minute, but I did find it pretty entertaining following John Scully's feed this weekend on Facebook. There was a big amateur boxers reunion as part of the Terrence Crawford card, I believe. One of the cards there over the weekend.
Yeah.
And boy, Iceman was in his element. So the funniest thing is when they went to the club, I guess, there was a girl dancing on the table, and all these old boxers were just hamming it up. It sounded like it was a good time. But who is it? Ray Seals or something like that, or Sears? Ray Seals.
Yeah,
Sugar Ray
Seals, 1972 Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah, and it's so funny because every single picture, there he is holding up his gold medal, and the first picture Iceman shows of him, it says, "Every time I see Ray Seals, he asks me if I want to hold his gold medal." And oh god, I can relate. It's funny, but not obviously because I have a gold medal, but because if I did, that's what I would do. That was great.
Well, you know what, Rich? I'll tell you. And a guy from Philly, I was talking about him today. He was a world champ back in the mid-'90s. His name was Nate Miller. Nate Mr. Miller. He was a cruiserweight champ of the world. His problem was he was kind of slow-footed. So great power in his right hand, but he was a very methodical fighter, and he could get outworked. He had some losses to Alfred Ice Cole. He had losses late in his career in a fight with Tommy Hearns, which was like a cruiserweight. So Hearns was at the end. But I had met him in 1995, and we had gone to a fight that summer, 1995. He fought at the Blue Horizon in Philadelphia. He methodically broke a guy down, stopped him in the 7th, 8th round, and then his next fight, about 6 weeks later, was with Orlin Norris, Terry Norris' older brother, for the Cruiserweight Championship of the world. And Nate was losing. He was behind on the cards. He was getting outworked. And then he brought the great equalizer, his right hand, and he knocked Orlin Norris out to win the title. Nate carried that title around with him everywhere. Like I had seen it. That was in 1995. He wins the title, and his girlfriend used to work with my old trainer. So she arranged the deal where he would come to the gym and meet some of the fighters. He came in with the title belt and got photos with us. And I'll tell you, I was starstruck. I was an 18-year-old kid. I'm meeting the cruiserweight champ of the world, and he's coming in to watch me spar, which I was really starstruck and impressed. And then I saw him about 5 years later, the Blue Horizon. He was, no longer, he had lost the title. He was still fighting. And I said hi to him, just thinking, hey, how you doing? And he looked at me and goes, hey, man, you still fighting? How you doing? And I'm like, wow. I was really impressed. He remembered me and was kind of asked about me. And then fast forward, I hadn't seen him in years. Saw him at the Joe Frazier statue dedication. He was still carrying carrying that cruiserweight title. And I showed him the picture of us at the gym, and he asked me to text it to him, which I did. I saw him about a year ago at the Temple Leah Core Center at the Fight Card on ESPN, and he's walking by, and he's still got that belt in the in the bag with the velvet bag, and he's doing photo ops. And I mean, you know, been years, but it's such an accomplishment, and it's one to be proud of. When I had my first few fights in college, lost my first fight. Second fight, I won, and we were up at SUNY Westchester with a former guest of ours, Steve Acunto, who was a friend of Rocky Marciano. He was the one that put the show on, and I won that fight, and I got a gold medal. I was like, wow, I got a medal. I was like, oh my God, I got a medal. And then my next fight, a week or so later, I lost to a very experienced guy. But I got a silver medal. I mean, I wore those two medals around for the rest of the year. I'm like, even though one was a silver, I was like, wow. I mean, I finally got a medal around my neck. You know, I was so thrilled. And then the following year, I got my first trophy. Holy shit! There's a video of me in the ring actually kissing. You know, because I was so excited. And so, you know, you get that accomplishment. It's like, yeah, I remember walking around my dorm with those medals, and I was like, and I had them hanging in my dorm. I'm like, hey, well, you want to hold it for a photo? So people were like, sure. You know, like, but to me, it was like such an accomplishment. So I know, I you know, and Ice makes light of a lot of things, but I know he knows, like, how much that means to a fighter.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's always one of those things that surprises me, and it doesn't surprise me at the same time, that the fellowship of boxing. It just I call Iceman. I call him the patron saint of boxing, because he's always doing nice things for other fighters, and trying to raise money for people, and getting autographs on things to auction off, and just bringing people together. Like some of the posts that I really enjoyed were the pictures of people who hadn't seen each other since they fought, or 20 years, and just the looks on their faces. They're just thrilled to be having that conversation.
Stories, and he had posted the photo of it. And amazingly, because both of the gentlemen in question here passed away within a few weeks of each other, but he was, I forget, he was at a casino, and I forget if there was obviously a fight going on. I forget if it might have been at Foxwoods up in Connecticut, and he was, walking through the one area, and he saw Goody Petronelli, Marvin Hagler's trainer, and he was talking to him, whatever, and then he happened to bump into Angela Dundee, and he's thinking, Sugar Ray Leonard's trainer, Muhammad Ali's trainer. It's like, oh my God, Hagler and Leonard. And he got them together before a photo op. It was one of the first times they'd seen each other since that fight in 1987. And this was back in 2011, maybe, 2012, and then they each passed away within like a year of that photo being taken. But he's like, he brought those guys back together just by chance of being in this casino. I'm like, hey, there's Goody Petronelli. Oh my God. There's Angela and Douglas. Let me bring them together.
Yeah, good stuff. Getting back to the UFC stuff, we got one more card. Just going to go through the matchups real quick. That's coming up this weekend. And then we got Bellator 235 to go to. And then we're going to go right to the boxing stuff. So we got plenty of it. But main event tomorrow night? No, December 21st. That's Saturday, I guess, but it's in South Korea, so I don't know how the timing is going to be as far as whether it's going to be the day or night. But Frankie Edgar is in the main event. He's fighting the Korean stun gun there, Chan Sung Young. So should be good for South Korea. Frankie Edgar is 23-7 with one draw. Chan Sung Young is 15-5. And then we got a co-main event, some European guys. Volkan Ozdemir, 16-4, fighting Alexander Rekic, 12-1. And we got a lot of Korean names on the card because it's in Korea. Do Ho Choi, he's 14-3, fighting Charles Jourdain, who's 9-2. And we got Da Un Young, who is 12-2, fighting Mike Rodriguez, 10-4. Jun Young Park, 10-4, fighting Mark Andre Barrio, who is 11-3. Then we got Kyung Ho Kang, 16-8, fighting Pingwan Liu, who's 13-6. Cyril Gagne, who is 5-0, fighting Tanner Boser, who's 17-5-1. Suman Mokhtarian, 8-1, fighting Sung Woo Choi, 7-3. Omar Antonio Morales Ferrer, 8-0, fighting Dong Hyun Ma, who is 16-10-3. And then Alexander Pantoja in the fourth fight of the night. He's 21-4, fighting Matt Schnell, who's 14-4. Then we got Saeed Nurmagomedov, 13-1, fighting Rayoni Barcelos, who's 14-1. It's a good match on paper, at least. Miranda Granger, 7-0, fighting Amanda Lemos, who's 6-1-1 in the female fight on the second fight of the fight on the card. First fight, Hailey Alatang, who is 13-7-1, fighting Ryan Benoit, who is 10-2, or Benoit. I don't know. Some people pronounce it differently. Then we got Bellator 235. Salute the troops. And Blast from the Past on this card, main event. Josh Barnett. That is, if he makes it through testing all right. He's been known to have issues with that. He is 35-8 for a record. It'd be kind of interesting to find out how old he is. He's got to be over 40. He's fighting Ronnie Marks, who's 19-7. And then the co-main event, Toby Misek, she's 10-7, fighting Eric Perez, who's 19-6. This one's from Hawaii, by the way, Honolulu, Hawaii. It's just kind of weird. I don't know why he wouldn't let Max Holloway fight the main event of this card. He's from there, but must have had something to do with wanting them all on the same card. Alejandra Lara is on the card. She is 8-3, fighting Veta Artiega, who's 5-3. Then we got Taiwan Claxton, 5-1, fighting Braden Akio. He's 3-0, but he's fighting for a sure dog picture. Doesn't have one yet. So if he wins, I'm sure he'll get one. Joey Davis on the card, 6-0, fighting Chris Cisneros. He's 19-10. Then we got Cass Bell, 4-0, fighting Pierre Deguzin, who's 5-3. And nothing spectacular in the two first fights. Now let's see how Josh Barnett has aged. Find out what his date of birth is here. Let's see. Age 42. 248 pounds. 6'3", according to SureDog, but we'll probably find out his real weight tonight at the weigh-in. And we go to Box Rec for the boxing. And we had a lot last weekend. We had a couple decent cards. We also had the USA Boxing Alumni Association had their Hall of Fame thing going on. And one of the members that they inducted, along with our old George Foreman, talk about guys over 40 fighting. George Foreman was one of the originals. Got the title after 40. But he got inducted, and also Mark Breland was inducted, and I just kind of offhanded congratulated him and said something about him being one of the most respected names in boxing, and he actually responded and thanked me and everything on Facebook. So I followed it up with, we'd love to have you on our radio show.
That's cool.
And I didn't put it in a direct message, but I will. I kind of put it in the comments, so hope he wasn't offended by that. But I'm sure we'll get him on the show. That would be a great interview, because, he just didn't stop at boxing. He's actually, in the last few years, been talked about in the training circles as a real guru for some of these guys coming up. He definitely teaches them well. Anyway, Saturday we had Crawford having a little bit of early difficulty in his fight against Egidijus Kavaliauskas. Boy, that's a tough one. Kavaliauskas. There we go. Terrence went into the late rounds with him, but ended up knocking him out. He just basically could not handle the power. He got knocked down, I believe, 3 or 4 times, and that was it. So
yeah, you know what? I was doing another banquet, not as a boss boy. Thank you very much.
Hey, that wasn't me, by the way, for the record. We didn't record that on the show. I hope you know. It wasn't recorded on the show when we were talking about that.
So what I did was, I did the banquet, and a friend of mine had texted me that morning because he had gone to his first fight, professional fight. He had come through college roommates. He had come to a couple of my amateur fights. But he had gone to his first pro fight with me in Vegas, the Pacquiao Bradley fight a couple years ago, and he was really, sorry, I just got a funny message, I'm sorry. He really funny message. He was really impressed with Raymundo Beltran. He became one of his favorite fighters. So when the Beltran would be on, I would text him like, "Yo, Ray Beltran's on tonight, ESPN or ESPN Plus or whatever." And we would always talk fights. Then he was asking me about Teofimo Lopez a few months ago, and he wanted to watch him a little bit. So he watched him. Raymundo Beltran's last fight when he got stopped by Richard Comey, who I had seen fight in Reading a couple years ago against Robert Easton. And so we watched that fight, and he was like, "Wow." He goes, Comey ended up scoring like 3 knockdowns before he finally took Beltran out. And my friend was like, "Wow," he was really impressed. So now Comey's fighting Teofimo Lopez, who my friend Mike is a fan of. So he texted me that morning and goes, "Yo, you watching this one tonight?" He wasn't even talking about Terrence Crawford. He wanted to watch Comey and Lopez. So I said, "Yeah." I said, "I got to get home from this banquet in time, but I should be." So I'm running a little bit late. I am literally 10 minutes from home, and my phone lights up with one word: "Wow." I said, "Oh, shit. What did I miss?" So I get home, and they're like, "Oh, man, Lopez blew him out of the water." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Because Comey,
that was impressive,
dude. Yes. And here's what I said. Like, I was talking to a guy at work about it actually today, and my actual description was like this: Lopez has that game-changing power that any punch he hits you with can literally take you out of the equation. He is an eraser. He reminds me, especially a younger version of Triple G. Because Triple G would throw that left hook from that really weird angle where he'd throw it almost over top, like on the forehead, and drop guys doing that. I remember when he knocked Curtis Stevens down, and Stevens' eyes were like about the size of saucers. Like, holy shit, what did I just get hit with? That's what Teofimo Lopez reminds me of. That eraser, that game-changing, like, holy shit, what just happened power. So, yeah, unfortunately, I did not get to see that live. I did make it home right when they were doing the ring walks for, Terrence Crawford. And you're right, he endured some tough moments, and I was talking to a coworker about it today. He's a big boxing fan. And I said, Crawford, in a way, reminds me a lot of Andre Ward. Maybe a little bit better of a puncher than Ward. But he's very adaptable. With Crawford, a lot of times, if you notice, he's a slow starter. A lot of times he'll lose those early rounds while he's getting into his groove. And then once he gets into his groove, it's pretty much, the equation's pretty much done. If you go back, one of his big breakthrough fights was against Yuriokas Gambella a couple years ago. I remember watching that fight with my dad. My dad's like, "I don't know much about this Crawford guy." He goes, "But Gambella's a bad dude. Gambella. I'm like, I don't know, Pop. I mean, I don't know. And then Crawford had the first few rounds where he wasn't that great. And then, next thing you know, he got into his groove, and he was bouncing him off the canvas like a basketball. And ended up a very impressive stoppage. Same thing when he fought Hank Lundy. Lundy took it to him the first round. Lundy won that first round. And then he adapted and took Lundy out in 5. That's his kind of game. So this kid at work, Mark, asked me today, and he goes, I'm going to put you on the spot. He goes, Crawford or Spence? I said, well, right now, you got to take in the equation. We don't know how, injured Spence is from that car accident. But it's, to take that out, I said, let's pretend like that never happened, and Spence is 100%, and they were fighting. I said, I think Spence controls early. I think Crawford adapts and is better late, and he's a guy that can, switch from orthodox to southpaw. He is technically proficient at both sides of the plate. He's like a great baseball switch hitter. That's a 300 batter from either side. Good contact, good batting average, and a good 30-plus home run guy. That's what Terrence Crawford is to me in baseball terms. I would say I could see Spence jumping out to an early lead, and then Crawford adapting, and then really pushing him down the stretch. It would be the question of how much of a lead Spence built up early, and when Crawford started to figure him out would be the deciding factor.
But the bigger question is, will we ever see it? Will we ever see the matchmaking from PBC? I mean, it's just so outrageous that, Crawford, for all we can say about him, pound for pound, but you look at his record, let's see what he can do against the PBC guys.
Yeah,
and I'm talking, and not just Spence, but Danny Garcia, Sean Porter would be a great fight. I'd like to see Crawford there. Not saying he's not the best in the world pound for pound, but we haven't, you look at his resume, and does it really justify saying that? It might. I mean, I'm saying he's not. But let's see those fights if possible. But you're right about Spence. Spence, who knows? He's been so quiet that we may not see him for quite some time, if ever. Who knows?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's that situation, but it's the reality, especially when you're doing crazy shit like that.
Yeah, and I guess Garcia is really upset. I was just reading Danny Garcia is really upset with Bradley. I guess Bradley was saying, well, these guys, he was kind of just implying that the PBC guys were afraid to cross the line. And Garcia wasn't going for any of that, So I think everyone's ready. It's just a matter of matchmaking. So we'll see what happens. A lot of good fights, ton of good fights there. Just a ton of them. Hopefully we'll get to see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, we've got some fights going on Saturday. We actually got some fights going on tomorrow night, too. The big one is involving Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. again, and guess what? He didn't quite make weight today, so again.
Are you kidding me?
No, I didn't hear that. Yeah. Not again.
173 pounds.
How over was he?
Came in 173 pounds from what I read. For I think what must have been 168 was the limit. So yeah, not very smucking part there.
Is the fight canceled?
No, fight's not canceled. But he gives up a portion of his purse for the weight problem, and
yeah, he should be giving up about 80%. About 80% of what he's going to get paid. It just goes on and on and on. There's no consequences. Well, give up 10% of what you're going to make. Will be. God.
So,
you guys, we've followed it long enough, and Rich, you and I had the horrible displeasure of sometimes having to step up on that scale, and knowing that you're struggling to be where you got to be. I mean, I did it when I had to. The 165, I know my major motivation was, trust me, when I started making that weight cut, I had a real hard time training just because my body was so weak. I would try to run, I couldn't. I would try to jump rope, I would start, dry heaving. I would try to hit the bag, and I could go like 30 seconds. I was exhausted. I had a sweat suit on. I had no strength. But at the same time, I had a motivation. One was a pride. It was a pride factor. I said I could do this. Goddamn right, I'm going to do it. And the second, maybe bigger motivation was Dr. Cox. Because if you came in overweight, Dr. Cox would ream you out so bad. I'll tell you, man, I've seen guys every year I was there make weight cuts. I know a teammate of mine, Todd Steiner, was a natural 147 pounder. He was like 6'2". He was dropping to 139 my freshman year. He did it for the regionals and the nationals. We had another guy on the team, Lee Dixon. Lee Dixon, I wish you guys could have seen him. Lee looked like a character that was out of one of those Street Fighter video games with the guy with the spiked hair. He looked just like him. Lee was naturally 156 pounds, cut like granite. Lee cut down, and then he was naturally 156. He was boxing at 147, and then he was down around maybe 142-ish. He dropped to 132. 132. He won the national title that year because he was such a physical freak. He had no boxing skills whatsoever. He had a hard jab, but he was so mechanical and so, he was a guy, he was painful to watch. But he won the national title because at 130 pounds, he was just, like a brick wall against these guys. The jab was knocking him across the ring, and when they tried to get in close to him, he would just shoulder him off. But all of us had that Dr. Cox looking over your shoulder, and you were like, I'd rather die than not make this weight and have to deal with him. And that's the truth. These guys, part of it, Chavez, big time. No pride in himself. None. Never has, never will. No discipline. And he's a guy that, I can see his attitude. You can see it in his attitude. Who cares? Adrian Broner's like that. I didn't make the weight. Who cares? And that's, unfortunately, what's wrong with a lot of guys these days.
Yeah. Well, like I said, no respect. No respect for the institution there. You just, you gotta suck it up and get it done when it comes to that. It's your job. Yes. What other sport do you lose part of your purse for not coming in the right weight? What more incentive do you need? Money. You get more money if you show up on weight. And when you're not fighting as much as a usual fighter fights, like Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., how many fights has he had in the last 5 years? Not as many as most boxers who are active. So, some of it was a suspension, I believe, for marijuana. But, he's had his opportunities to shine and just kind of squandered him. But anyway.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go over that whole card in a second. We also have a big rematch on Saturday to talk about. Tony Harrison versus Jamel Charlo. We'll get to that one. But there's not only one Julio Cesar on the same card here on Friday. There's two. We're moving to the main event. I gotta wait for the page to load. Hold on. There he is. Julio Cesar Martinez Aguilar, also on the card. It's in Phoenix, Arizona here. He's 14-1, fighting Christopher Rosales, who's 29-4 for the vacant WBC World Flyweight title. And then super middleweights in the main event. Yeah, so what is that? 168? You're supposed to weigh in at?
158, yeah.
Yeah, so Julio came in at 173. So that's it's a good 5 pounds. You know? Sad.
Ridiculous.
Anyway, Daniel Jacobs comes in 35-3. And Julio comes in at 51-3-1. But both of them have 2 of their 3 losses in their last 6 fights. So it's kind of an interesting matchup on paper. They almost have them in the exact same spots too, on the little 6-fight bar there, where you got the greens and the reds on BoxRec. Also on the card, a nice welterweight matchup. Maurice Hooker, 26-1-3, fighting Uriel Perez, who's 19-4, and then a middleweight fight too. Another one, regular middleweight. Liam Smith, 28-2-1 against Roberto Garcia, 42-4. Boy, it's a stacked card. And then we have super middleweights Gabriel Rosado, 24-12 with 1 draw, fighting Humberto Gutierrez Ochoa. He's got 33 wins, 8 losses, and 2 draws. And the rest of the fights is fillers.
Close right there. Good chance for Gabe to get himself back in the mix again.
Yeah. And of course, we got Saturday's fights. Here's an interesting one from New South Wales, Australia. Best fight on the card, really. And it's the top of the bill. Billy Dibb, back in action at super featherweight. He is 45-6, fighting Van Tao Tran, who is 12-0 at super featherweight here. So we'll see if the O is going to go here against some experience and youth going on. Matchup, experience versus youth. See who wins that day. And really not much on that card otherwise. Over in the Czech Republic, we got a 1-fight card at light heavyweight. Karel Horajsek. He is 15-12-3, fighting Ferenc Albert, who's 27-16. And it's for a title. Have you ever heard a title being on the line between guys with those kind of records? Anyway, it's the Universal Boxing Organization Intercontinental Light Heavyweight title, so don't worry, it's not a world, just genuine world title there. And let's see what else is going on. Okay, over in Germany, we got some big names, some big Jürgens. Jürgen Brammer versus Jürgen Doberstein. Jürgen Brammer is 51-3. Jürgen Doberstein, it's a great German name, by the way. He is 25-3-1, fighting for the IBF Intercontinental Super Middleweight title. Now, that with those kind of records, you think you would just fight for the regular IBF title. No Intercontinental about it there. That's the way they're doing it. And then, not much for support fights, but we got one here worth mentioning. Howick Bebraham. He's 15-1, fighting Marco Antonio Juarez Rodriguez. 10-5-3. And that's a rare case of a 4-named Spanish dude without Jesus for a name. No Jesus in the middle. And then it doesn't stop in Germany. We got another card. Headliners, Christian Hammer, 24-6, fighting Saul Farah, whose record is 71 wins, 24 losses, and 3 draws. Pretty crazy. It's a lot of fights. And what else is going on? Not much for competitiveness as far as I'm seeing here. Let's see, something in Russia here worth talking about. Denis Lebedev, fighting in Krasnoyarsk, Russia. He is 32-2, fighting Thabiso Mchunu, who's 21-5, for the vacant WBC Silver Cruiserweight title. Then we got Dmitry Kudryashov at cruiserweight. He's 23-3, fighting Vaclav Pejsar, who's 14-8. And Aidos Yerbossi Newley, 12-0, fighting Omar Garcia, 15-2, for the WBA International Super Middleweight title. There's your Russian fight card of the week. I guess this could be the mismatch of the week over in the UK. Middleweights, John Telford, he is 10-2-1, fighting Lewis Van Poach, who is 116-2.
Ooh, wow.
Looking for his 10th win. Or his 117th loss. Which will come first? And then also in the UK we have a heavyweight matchup. Daniel Dubois, 13-0, against Kyotaro Fujimoto. That one's for the vacant WBC Silver Heavyweight title and the WBO International Heavyweight title. Both of them on the line. Fujimoto 21-0, Dubois 13-0, or 21-1, I should say. Fujimoto. We got middleweights, Liam Williams, 21-2-1, fighting Atlantes Fox, who is 26-1-1. And then super flyweights, Sonny Edwards and Marcel Brathwaite. Sonny is 13-0, Brathwaite is 9-1, fighting for the vacant BBBFC British super flyweight title. See, there we are. There we have it. There's a big mismatch of the week, or mismatch, I should say. Not mismatch, but rematch is going to be going on Fox Sports 1. It's going to be Tony Harrison versus Jermell Charlo. And this was a very controversial decision first time around. It was Charlo's belt. Tony Harrison fought a pretty decent fight and took it away. And now Jermell Charlo is trying to get it back. And it's been waiting a long time for this fight. It was supposed to happen once before this, and it got canceled or postponed, obviously, because of...
Yeah, I think Harrison got hurt or something.
Yeah, shoulder issue or something like that. So, they're going to rerun it on Saturday on Fox Sports. It's going to be from Ontario, California. And coming into the fight, Jermell has the one loss to Harrison, to go with 32 wins. And Harrison comes in at 28-2. This one's for the WBC World Super Welterweight title. Big one.
A lot of bad blood. A lot of bad blood there. Unusual amount of bad blood.
Yeah.
So sometimes that could be a dead fight, sometimes not. So we'll see. Charlo really seems like he just hates Harrison. So see how it goes.
Yeah, it's going to be one to watch. And we get to watch it for free, so why not? And we got featherweights in the co-main event. Jack Tapora, 23-0, fighting Oscar Escandon, who is 25-5. And, boy, 4 of those 5 were in his last 6 fights, so looks like he's an opponent in this one, sort of. Anyway, Hugo Centeno Jr. also on the card, 27-3, fighting Juan Macias Montel, who's 21-4-1. And then we got heavyweights, F.A. Ajagba, 11-0, fighting Iago Calades, who is 26-4-1. And super middleweights, Andre Durrell, 26-3, fighting Juan Ubaldo Cabrera, who is 24-2. We don't have enough Julio Cesars fighting this week. We got Julio Cesar Sanchez, 11-2, fighting Imantas Stanionis, who is 9-0. There it is. And then here's one from Miami, Florida. Super bantamweights in the main event. Giovanni Gutierrez, 9-0, and Mike Plania, who's 22-1, for the vacant IBF North American Super Bantamweight title. Also on Saturday. That's it. That's the big stuff. And I didn't have really a lot of big breaking news planned for the show this week, so I don't have a lot of that. But let me just see if we got any breaking news in the Gmail alerts.
it goes in cycles, Rich. And if you consider the month we've had, lots of action.
Yes, sir. Anyway, let's just check out what we got for Google Alerts. If I missed anything. How's the tree lot going there, Tony?
Oh, it's been going good. I've been very busy. So, obviously we're pumping up to the final weekend. I'm obviously not going to make as much as I did last year because we had an extra week. But I've made a good little chunk. And thankfully did not get sick this year, which has happened to me in previous years. I'm just now trying to get a few things wrapped up before the holidays. I'm working on, my traditional calendars. I'm doing on the one for my godson as we actually speak.
There we go.
And then we'll be done on Tuesday, and on Wednesday I'm going to relax, and on Thursday my nephew, who is now 17, is coming over for his first boxing lesson.
Oh, there you go.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's exciting,
That's quite a
You
Christmas
watch
present.
them grow up, and you watch them grow up, and they come up to you one day and they're like, "Hey, I want to try it." And I'm like, "Yeah, we can do that. We can definitely do that."
Yeah, actually, in that little group there I was talking about, the Norwich group, it's kind of funny educating some of the kids there about the fact that they used to have a boxing program. And, obviously, some of them would love to see it again, but with all the lawsuits these days, boy, it's tough. And then the reputation for these ragtag events killing people. Last year I remember us talking about a charity event for a church. Some guy died in an amateur fight, so yeah, it's probably a lot harder to get insurance for these days, even though I believe now there's 2 different organizations overseeing college boxing. There's the NCBA, and then there's a new one on top of that. I don't know what the name of it is offhand, but I remember reading about that. So maybe they have insurance that they offer, but it'd be interesting to see. It's kind of sad to see any military school without a boxing program. But as I found out when I was there, it takes the right person to oversee it. You have to really have a lot of passion for it. Here's an article. Joe Rogan wants to fire everyone who judges MMA and hire 9 ex-fighters to score UFC bouts. I don't know whether that's a response to this weekend's fights or what. We'll get to that. Here we go. Another McDonald's move. I guess that's Rory. Signed with, Rory McDonald. He did not last long in Bellator. He's crossing over to the PFL, Professional Fighters League. So another one bites the dust there. He kind of had an interesting run there. He did the welterweight tournament and had that long fight against John Fitch, where he came out and he's talking about doesn't really have the passion for fighting anymore. Not sure if he wants to keep doing it. And so now he's on the move. He wants to keep doing it as long as a playoff format.
Boy, I guess he must have burned his bridge with the UFC.
Well, yeah. I mean, that happened when he had the contract negotiations with him, and they didn't match his offer. So he was gentle on the way out, but he was a little bit scathing. He could have been worse, and I don't think the UFC ever wanted him back anyway. But anyway, well, we got Adrian the Problem Broner news, and we just mentioned him earlier. He's going to be needing to fight soon. He just got hit with an $830,000 judgment. Yikes. That is crazy. Mikey Garcia is in the news. He just signed with Matchroom Boxing, and he's going to fight Jesse Vargas on February 29th in Texas. 39-1 Garcia. 30 KOs. So, well, yeah, that'll be very interesting to see how that develops. Alright, so let's get to these stories. Joe Rogan. Well, that one's pretty self-explanatory. He wants to fire all the judges. Hire 9 ex-UFC fighters. And I guess it says referees and judges are assigned and paid by state athletic commissions, of course, so it's kind of hard for the UFC to say who should judge fights and where. But when the UFC travels overseas, it seems like you get a lot worse situations because you have a limited talent pool who's willing to travel. And you might see some boxing judges there because they're more available. But UFC color commentator Joe Rogan says he's witnessed his fair share of screw jobs over the last 20 years. He says, I think that the system sucks. The 10-point must system, it's boxing system. It's not our system. The judges should at least have some martial arts experience, and I know there's a bunch of them that never even fucking trained. They just took some courses. It's horrible, and they don't do anything about it. There's people that have put in bad decision after bad decision, and then you see them still being listed as judges, and you're like, this is crazy. Former featherweight champion Max Holloway believes he did enough during his 5-round fight against Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 245 to walk away with the decision. And also Jose Aldo claims the judges robbed him. So Rogan said they need to fire everyone. You know what they need to do? They should hire ex-fighters. It's like passing a written test but never having driven a car. We should have more than 3 judges. 9 would be a good number because 9 would be a tiebreaker if you had like 4 one way, 4 the other way. I feel like 3 is ridiculous. Why do you only have 3? You know the judges suck already, so why do you only have 3 people that suck? Why don't you tell it like it is, Joe Rogan?
But remember, we've talked about that. And the problem with ex-fighters, are they going to favor their style?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that would happen with all of them, but that would be a possibility. I mean, same thing in boxing. You get a guy that's a slick boxer, he's going to favor the slick boxer, even if the slick boxer is getting out punched, or the other way around. And here, with all kinds of conflicts there, I'm sure it could maybe be worked out, but...
Well, you know, we always talk about also on this show, every now and then, not always, but we get on this topic of discussion of how the other sports sometimes steal away the people who might be the best boxers. Well, usually the sport we talk about is football. But now, believe it or not, we got to talk about somebody in tennis who could make the crossover. Probably won't, but apparently, according to one of the greats, she could. And we're talking about Serena Williams. And Mike Tyson gave her a boxing lesson the other day. Posted a video on Twitter and said, wouldn't want to get in the ring with this goat, as he was holding a punching bag for her while she was using her strength from being one of the greatest tennis players of all time. And I'll have to check that out, but I don't know. That's pretty cool. So, he's 53 years old, obviously. Started out 37-0 before the 1990 fight with Buster Douglas. And he got 44 of his 50 wins by knockout. So, you got to know how to show somebody the ropes. And he did. So we'll check that out, I'm sure, later. I'll send you guys the link so you can check it out. And, there we go, some sound on the video. I got one more story.
Prescription
One more story. That's the problem. We'll end with the problem. How about that? We don't know what the solution is. I don't think anybody does. But it's a big problem here. He's got... I believe it was another case where he was in some trouble. He beat some guy up over a bowling bet. And I think that was settled. I think he ended up financially settling that, so there was no criminal thing. There was nothing. So he got off scot-free for that one. But this one's a different story. See, this one involves some kind of sexual assault allegation. So an Ohio judge obviously sided with the plaintiff and gave her $830,000 for sexual assault she claims happened at a Cleveland nightclub. And Broner basically didn't even defend himself, according to this. It was a lawsuit and a criminal case, so yeah, he's in real trouble. And supposedly he pinned her against the couch, or on a couch, and started kissing her against her will. And one of his friends pulled him off the woman after somebody took a photo. So he was originally charged with sexual imposition in Cuyahoga County. He pleaded guilty in April to misdemeanor charges of assault and unlawful restraint and was sentenced to probation. So the criminal thing has already been settled, but apparently he just withdrew from the case, or his lawsuit. His lawyers did, so maybe he didn't pay the lawyers. So he had to defend himself. Apparently he didn't get my book. He appeared at a default hearing without representation on December 3rd, but never appeared for a deposition or responded to discovery requests, said the woman's attorney. So attempts to reach him obviously were unsuccessful for the article. A man who identified himself as Broner's manager hung up when asked about the case on Wednesday. Apparently he can't afford to pay him anymore as manager because he's got to pay the woman. Anyway, the award includes both pre-judgment and post-judgment
I wonder if he's broke. I wonder if he's broke.
Yeah.
He could be.
Anyway.
Oh.
No surprise, the lawyer says it doesn't matter who he thinks he is. It's not an appropriate way to behave. Yeah, well, we all know that, but he doesn't. Anyway, asked whether she believes Broner will pay her client, the attorney said she would hope someone had taken care of his money. She referred to videos posted online of Broner flushing cash down toilets. Not a good look. He acts like, he calls himself about billions too, and he acts like he's Floyd, but I don't think he has the bank account that Floyd does.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's 33-4-1 with 24 knockouts, and he's going to need probably about 7 more fights to pay that judgment. Or maybe 10. $80,000 a fight. He'll be all set. Anyway, I guess that's it for us. Till next week, we're going to sign off and say sayonara. And thanks for stopping by.
Gentlemen, when we talk next week, that'll be after the holidays. So I'd like to wish both of you at this time a very happy and safe holiday. And we'll reconvene next week.
Merry Christmas.
Yes, sir, bud. Same to you.
And you guys want to do Friday next week?
No, Thursday's fine because Christmas is on Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking.
In fact, don't you think it would be appropriate that we do the show on Boxing Day?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It'll be the first time ever, won't it?
Might be.
Yeah. Or if we did it before, we didn't mention it, but yeah, that's Boxing Day. That's funny. All right, so we'll have to go heavy on the boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Until then,
Okay, sounds like a plan.
we'll catch you later.
Enjoy the fight.
All right, gentlemen.
Adios.
See you later.